President William Ruto has criticized the governance of the International Monetary Fund and the World Bank, saying that the current structure only favors wealthy countries. Ruto has instead called for reforms to make these institutions independent and apolitical. According to the head of state, while the two institutions have played a key role in financing states, they have evolved into development finance institutions.
Both the World Bank and IMF have evolved into development finance institutions, but the ownership and power remains with the wealthy countries that they no longer serve. The interests of the shareholders and stakeholders and beneficiaries are at great variance almost all the time. This anomaly became apparently glaring during the IMF SDR issuance, where 64% of allocations ended up in wealthy countries that did not need liquidity support.
Ruto also called for equal representation of African countries at the United Nations Security Council, arguing that the current structure fails to uphold equity.
Other than the post-war situation would have made the current structure of the UN, and more particularly the UN Security Council, and that is the 5 permanent members with individual powers, an acceptable peace and security architecture. The Security Council, once a beacon of peace and diplomacy, now has 1 permanent member invading one country, while another member takes sides in conflict, in direct contradiction to the Council's own resolutions.
Pearl Newsbeat.
Meanwhile, a police officer attached to the presidential escort unit is said to have collapsed and passed away under unclear circumstances. The police sergeant was in the company of his colleague yesterday when he collapsed, and he attempted to board one of the government vehicles assigned to his unit. He was hastily rushed to the Karen hospital following his collapse, where doctors declared him dead on arrival, although the cause of his death is yet to be established. The deceased officer served in the presidential escort unit, which was primarily tasked with protecting the head of state, his deputy, the first family, and the retired head of states. While the cause for the officer's collapse and sudden death remains unclear, medical experts have in the past attributed sudden death in adults to a number of conditions, including from underlying heart conditions, which at times go undiagnosed.
Pearl Newsbeat.
And Wanjiru Nganga, a 20-year-old woman who was found murdered in Limuru near the border of Rongai and Subukia constituencies, was strangled to death, an autopsy has revealed. Wanjiru Nganga was on her way home from work when she was allegedly attacked by unknown individuals last week. She, who worked as a mechanic in the Kiborojo area of Subukia, was later found dead in nearby field, according to police. The police say they launched an investigation, and speaking after receiving the pathologist's report, the family has appealed for justice and called for faster prosecution of the perpetrators involved in the murder of their kin.
Wito wangu tu ni kwa serikali wafanye jitihada mpaka huyo msichana wangu apate haki, na tena hata hicho kijiji chetu tuwe na usalama.
Kabla haijaanza, daktari alikuwa anauliza swali ya kwamba katika shingo lake ni kama kulikuwa na vuta ni kuvute. Ijapokuwa askari alikuwa anasema wakati walikuwa wanauchukua ule mwili walikuta wadudu ambayo walikuwa wameshikilia upande wa shingo. Wakati tumeweza kutamatisha, daktari alikuwa anaonelea ni kama kufungwa hewa.
Her death has sparked outrage and sorrow within the community, with Nakuru Governor Susan Kihika publicly condemning the killing. In a statement posted on her social media, Kihika described Nganga as a determined and hard-working young woman who defied gender norms by entering a male-dominated profession.
Pearl Newsbeat.
Former Migori Governor Okoth Obado has defended himself in a case where he was found to have a case to answer in the murder of the late university student Sharon Otieno. Obado has told the court that he was transparent with the affair with Sharon, had confessed to his wife, and had already taken steps to end it before Sharon's tragic death. Obado revealed that he confessed to the affair, apologized to his wife, and assured her that the relationship with Sharon was over. He also said that he took responsibility for the child Sharon was expecting. In a surprising revelation, Obado said his wife had offered to give Sharon one of their houses, a gesture he declined, insisting that he had no intention of marrying a second wife.
Sharon's proposal for house in Nairobi or in Kisumu were discussed, and I discouraged them, and Mula also concurred with my view. So I asked Mula to go and relay to her that it would be much more easier for her to be settled around Homa Bay, not in town but just around Homa Bay. And even a proposal of buying land and building maybe a house of 3-bedroom house that would cost around 3 million.
So you've given a proposal of buying land in Homa Bay?
Yes, your lady.
And building a 3-bedroom house for the rich.
That is true.
A proposal you said were in Nairobi or Kisumu, which you then discouraged and wrote. Was that acceptable to Sharon in this back and forth?
Because it was being relayed to her, Mula told me that she was not very, very comfortable with that. She wanted Nairobi or Kisumu.
Pearl Newsbeat.
The National Assembly Speaker Moses Wetangula has called on members of parliament from Baringo County to use their parliamentary recess to directly engage their constituents in efforts to restore peace and security in the region, which continues to be rocked by violence and lawlessness. Addressing the House during the afternoon sitting, Wetangula acknowledged the work of the Administration and National Security Committee in compiling a comprehensive assessment of the security situation in 6 conflict-prone counties. While progress has been noted in Turkana, Samburu, Isiolo and Marsabit, he raised alarm over Baringo, where deadly clashes and rampant banditry persist. The leaders from the region had sought a statement from the Ministry of Interior on the efforts of silencing the guns in the region.
Pearl Newsbeat.
Triple Olympic and World 1500 meters champion Faith Kipyegon is to attempt the first woman's unofficial sub-4-minute mile in a Nike Breaking for project following the success of Eliud Kipchoge's sub-2-hour marathon. Nike has said that Kipyegon is to attempt the feat on June 26th at Stade Charlotte Paris, where she beat her own 1500 meters world record last year. Full details are yet to be revealed, but as with her compatriots, 1 hour 59 minutes 40 seconds 2 marathon in Vienna in 2019, she is likely to be aided by in and out pacers, new high-tech shoes and kit, and other technological, psychological and psychological help that will mean any record will not be officially recognized.
Pearl Newsbeat.
And further field, a series of earthquakes, including a 6.2 magnitude tremor, has struck near Istanbul, shaking buildings and prompting people to flee their homes. At least 151 people have been were injured jumping from high places. The governor of Turkey's largest city said on X there were no deaths and no major structural damage reported. Large groups of people remained on the streets as aftershocks struck in the afternoon, and many have prepared to spend the night outside to safeguard against another strong tremor.
Pearl Radio, the home of fresh and classic hits.